Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got a breaking news report coming out from Europe, and today I have new information that states that Europe is drastically reducing the amount of troops they prepare to send to Ukraine due to concerns from the public and politicians in certain European nations. Let's talk about this new report here on your screen. Europe slashes estimates of peacekeeping troops deployed to Ukraine. Plans to send thousands of European troops into Ukraine, contingent on a peace deal between Kiev and Moscow, are encountering significant skepticism from the European public. So, we did talk about this a little bit earlier this morning with our update video for the Russia Ukraine war. I showed you guys a report that was talking about that about 56% of the public or the population inside of Germany was skeptical about sending troops into Ukraine. There's a lot of nations, some of them are for it, some are not. And we were hearing just a couple weeks back, actually, that Europe was preparing to send up to 30,000 troops into Ukraine to secure Ukraine's sovereignty in the event that we get a ceasefire deal signed between Russia and Ukraine. This war comes to an end. We heard even reports sometimes they'd be deployed at different cities across Ukraine. We also heard reports yesterday that many of these European troops are now going to be most likely stationed in the western portion of Ukraine. So we hear all of a sudden that, Europe is really backing Ukraine, willing to spread these troops across Ukrainian territory, and then all of a sudden they're willing to pull them back. They don't want them deployed so close to the front line. But apparently they're slashing these numbers from 30,000 troops all the way down to about 6 to 10,000. That's combined between the UK and France, who most likely is going to be sending majority of the troops into Ukraine. So we're going to talk more about this today. I'm going to give you guys some details on this situation. Let's hop on over here to United 24 Media. It says European troop plans for Ukraine slashed from 30,000 to 6,000 to 10,000. This just coming out today, August 27, 2025. You can see the date right here. And it says President Trump has signaled support for providing security guarantees to Ukraine alongside French and British proposals for a reassurance force. Although Northern European nations, including the Netherlands, Denmark, and Estonia, have expressed readiness to contribute troops, ambitious plans for a 30,000 strong force have been scaled back. France and the UK now plan a combined 6 to 10,000 troops, the Wall Street Journal reported on August 26. So, what we're starting to see here now is that Europe is slowly pulling away from the idea of deploying troops into Ukraine. I mean, just like I reported to you guys yesterday, again, that whole report regarding like a three-layered defense system inside of Ukraine. Reportedly, there could be like neutral peacekeeping troops that would be deployed to the demilitarized zone in Ukraine that would pretty much divide where the current combat lines are inside of Ukraine. It would kind of freeze the front line. We'd have neutral troops deployed there. Behind that would be a second shield of defense that would be patrolled by Ukrainian troops. And then beyond that would be a third layer of defense. That would be European troops along with, U.S. Air Force and intelligence patrolling the skies that most likely be deployed into Western Ukraine. So you can kind of see how Europe is very afraid and worried about deploying these troops into Ukraine as, could it drag them into the war with Russia if Russia were to violate a ceasefire with Ukraine and attack again. So it says here, however, public opinion in European countries remains cautious. And in Germany, for example, 56% of respondents opposed a military contribution. While parliament approval would be required for any deployment, concerns including stretching military resources and historical sensitivities, the Wall Street Journal writes. Eastern European countries such as Poland worry about diverting troops from their borders, and opposition is also strong in Italy and Germany. In France, support depends on a formal peace accord rather than a temporary ceasefire, with surveys showing 67% approval if a peace deal is reached. French President Emmanuel Macron emphasized that troops would be stationed at airports and critical infrastructure, avoiding frontline combat. So you can see even directly from Emmanuel Macron, he's stating that European troops, at least French troops that are deployed, would not be on the front line. They'd be much further away from where the demilitarized zone would most likely be created at. We would probably have troops stationed at airports, critical infrastructure located inside of Ukraine. Finally, it says here the UK has said deployment would depend on U.S. guarantees and would likely focus on maritime and air support, as well as training Ukrainian forces, according to the Wall Street Journal. Populist leaders across the continent, including Italy's Matteo Salvini, have criticized the proposals, and Poland has ruled out sending forces. citing risks of escalation on its borders, the Wall Street Journal claims. European leaders argue that a limited deployment, is vital to demonstrate commitment to Ukraine and deter further Russian aggression, but public and political hesitancy may limit the scale and scope of any operation. Previously, it was reported that the United States is prepared to play a role in ensuring Ukraine's security after the war by providing intelligence, surveillance, and air defense support, the Financial Times reported. Yeah, we talked about all that yesterday. So the big question here is how many troops is Europe preparing to send to Ukraine? And if they do this, will they actually back Ukraine up if Ukraine were to be attacked again by Russia? Let's say the war ends for 30 days or 60 days or something like that, and then Russia decides to attack Ukraine again. If there were to be a neutral peacekeeping force on the demilitarized zone on the front line, would those troops respond and help Ukraine, or would Ukraine be right back to fighting Russia again? And is Europe going to back them, or are they going to pull out of Ukraine altogether and not really help Ukraine out to deter any kind of Russian attack? I mean, definitely a crazy situation. Just wanted to let you know what Europe is preparing to do here as they are drastically slashing the amount of troops that they plan to send to Ukraine. Now, could this change in the future? Could we see it being upped again back to, let's say, 15, 20,000 or more? Maybe it could be possible, but that's a pretty drastic reduction down from 30,000 to possibly 6 to 10,000 troops. That's a much smaller amount of European forces that are willing to be deployed into Ukraine. Okay, so we'll have to see what happens here. Just wanted to give you another update regarding Ukraine's security guarantees and how things are really changing dynamically here in terms of what Europe is willing to do for Ukraine. So, yeah, guys, let me know what you think, though. Share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down below in the comment section, but that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.